Good morning, and thank you for joining me today. Yesterday, I ended up doing things a little differently than I had planned. God gave me a different message to follow, and of course, doing things God's way is always the best way, even if it doesn't fit our plans. And yesterday certainly didn't fit my plans, but I hope that yesterday's message has spoken to a lot of people. And if you haven't seen it, I hope that you will go to our Facebook page and take a look. But today I wanted to go a little bit deeper with that. We were in Romans 8:18, and we took a look at that one verse and took it apart piece by piece, looked at some other scripture passages to help us to understand what Paul was saying. But I didn't spend much time looking at the verses following verse 18 in Romans 8. So that's what I want to do today, just very quickly, to take a look at some exciting things that connect humanity and all of God's creation. So let's take a look. We'll start in the verse I looked at yesterday, verse 18, and then keep going to look at some more verses after that. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is going to be revealed to us. For the creation eagerly waits with anticipation for God's sons to be revealed. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it. In the hope, and I like that, in the hope that the creation itself will be set free from the bondage to decay into the glorious freedom of God's children. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together with labor pains until now. Not only that, but we ourselves who have the Spirit as the first fruits, we also groan within ourselves, eagerly waiting for adoption, the redemption of our bodies. And so that first verse is what we looked at yesterday that gave us the idea that, right now in this present time, there's a lot of suffering and a lot that we go through that is just simply difficult to endure. But we need to make sure that we are looking to the future, because we have the promise of heaven that Jesus is coming back someday, and he's going to make things right somehow. All of the injustice, all of the evil, all of the pain and suffering that we experience now in this present time, as Paul said, it's going to be taken care of somehow in the future by Jesus. But I want to make sure that as we're looking at that and thinking toward that, that we recognize how important this idea is and how closely it relates to humanity for all of creation to be set free from the effects of sin. Because the passage is telling us that it's like this entire world that God created, all the living things, all the non-living things. If you want to think about the mountains and the rocks and the precious metals, the precious stones, everything, the minerals that are not living things, all of that has been twisted and distorted from God's original plan just as much as the living world. When we look at the living world and we see the plants and we see the animals and we see human beings, we see a lot of destruction. We see a lot of death, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. God did not intend that originally. It is all the result of sin that we as human beings brought into this world. But just as we are the ones that are responsible to bring sin and death into God's good world, all of this world, creation that is going through the suffering right now because of our sin, it's eagerly anticipating the time that it will be set free when we are finally set free. That's what's looking toward the future. That Paul was saying, what we experience now in these sufferings isn't worth comparing to the glory that's going to be revealed in the future. And that is written here in terms of birth. That it says right now, all of God's creation, including us, but describing all of the world, everything that exists, the animals, the plants, even the non-living things, all of it is going through pain right now, like the pains of labor. But think about that. Labor pains are difficult. They are highly intense. At least that's what the women tell me. But it is moving toward life. It's not moving toward death. And that's what is happening right now, that all of the suffering, even in the times that we look and we see injustice to the point that we are tempted to lose all hope and think, where is God? Why isn't he doing something? We need to be reminded these pains are just labor pains because true life is coming, that Jesus has promised to come back someday. And when he does, he's going to take this entire world that has been corrupted by sin, that has death, that has evil, that has pain, all of these things, he is going to remove it all completely. And we can look forward to that day, so that as we think about what is happening right now in this present time, and we go through those days that are just difficult and they're depressing, they're discouraging, they're painful, we need to be reminded that it's just labor pains and that something better is coming. In fact, the birth is coming, the time when this world will be reborn. Jesus somehow is going to take this world and purify it, remove all of the sin, and he's going to take every single person who has ever lived that has put their faith in him, and he is going to recreate us to a new life. We're going to be born again to the final life, the real life, when we will have a body that will be free from any effects of sin, and we will live forever in heaven with God in that perfect place. So right now, some days there's a lot of labor pain, but the birth is coming. Jesus has promised he's coming back, and we can trust him to follow that promise. Thank you for being with me today.